The US finds itself in a bit of a pickle. Over the last maybe 3 decades or so, the United States essentially broke down every company that wanted to reduce costs by taking them down brick by brick and then shipping it out to China, reassembling them back, and then getting the production to start from China at a fraction of the cost. Well, this might have enriched some of their shareholders, but what it has resulted in is that many of these companies, they've been completely culled out from inside. And now the United States finds itself in a position where even if it puts a hefty amount of tariffs on China and wants to do things within its own shores, there's no one to do it. Why? The people who used to do all these things have either died or have retired, and the continuity has been broken. How does US recover from this? Many ideas that are floating around. First, I'll give you an infographic that kind of takes in the inputs of many people in the know of things, and then I'll give you my own 2 cents. You may agree with me or not agree with me, but please do respond by way of comment, and please like this video. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. Here we go. So, a multi-front approach is what the United States needs to do to try and redeem itself from the problem it faces vis-a-vis China. It's a complex challenge, and the foreign influence is not just on one thing, but there are many, including many global financial actors. It could be deep state, it could be people from the old money, new money, what have you, private equity. All these things are now beginning to mess up the United States ecosystem, and we're going to go through and look up some of these things. I might be using some acronyms, and I'll try and expand them as I use them so you have a better feeling for it. The story in more depth is available at PGurus.com, so you can read that story also in addition to this video so that you have a complete understanding of what is happening in the United States. Jobs will come back. I think the Trump administration understands what it's up against. In fact, I would be so bold to say that this is the last chance for the United States to get its positioning back as a leading industrial powerhouse. So how it's going to accomplish, that's what we're going to see in this video. Like I said again, if you have not already liked this video, please do so right away. First one, there are many pillars. The first pillar is proactive domestic investment. What the United States decided to do, and this was in Biden administration time. So Biden administration also realized that it's curtains if they don't do something about the way the jobs and the technology has disappeared into China and other countries. Plus, the technology, the new enhancements are all being done by those countries. I'll give another example. Plastics. Who is the leader in plastics today? Taiwan. It's no longer US. It used to be US. So something like that, it never comes back unless somebody does something about it, which is what the Trump administration and before that the Biden administration tried to do. So stay with me while I try to explain to you what has happened, especially regarding the CHIPS Act, in which about $52.7 billion has been subsidized for many companies who want to get back into the semiconductors. I remember in the 80s, United States had several fabs. And one by one, including companies like IBM, Intel had many fabs, and so on and so forth. But one by one, all these companies started, cutting back on this. That's how this gave birth to companies like TSMC and UMC in Taiwan. And then as China started growing up, one way or the other, they also got these companies to locate, or some technology got transferred. SMIC is a big one in China. There's another one called Grace Semiconductor, about which I have some story. Turns out that it's either the son of TSMC or the son of the UMC founder. One of those two people got into a tiff with his father and decided to, take some of the engineers and go to China. God only knows where he got the money from, and that's how Grace Semiconductor was founded. In fact, we have used Grace Semiconductor and we have fabricated some of our chips when I used to be a chip-based company such as OnSpec. That was many years ago. So I know a little bit about all these things. Be that as it may, the question is that the proliferation is over. Now, for the newer technology, the United States needs to pull up its socks and try and get a step ahead. Will it succeed? For example, Nvidia wanted to sell some of its chips to China because it felt that there will be a huge hole in its profits. And the same thing was echoed to me by many other companies associated with fabs or fab manufacturing equipment, because China formed close to 20% of their bottom line and they didn't have any other way to make it up. Sure, India is starting out, but India is not in the same scale as China yet. It might take a few decades before India starts producing its semiconductors by the thousands or even millions. It's going to take some time. So first, what the United States has done is okay, let's try and get our semiconductor program back on track. In fact, companies like Intel have benefited from this 52.7 billion subsidy. It's not just them, they are getting, many other companies are also getting money, and I would not be surprised if companies like Texas Instruments also are benefiting from that. Also, we know TSMC has started a fab in Texas, and they will probably get some benefits also because they are going to be creating those jobs right here, even though TMC feels that they have to bring some of its Taiwan-based engineers back here, because see, this is the gap. The gap has happened because for 30, 40 years, the United States has not been having any fabs of its own. So now, in order to get the continuity back, in order to train the local workforce, these companies have to bring their employees back from Taiwan. So let's hope that this happens in an orderly manner. Not only that, the next thing that's going to happen is that three ways it's going to try and establish its eminence. First one, like I said, reshoring and nearshoring, incentivizing domestic semiconductor manufacturing and building trusted supply chains with allied nations. By the way, part of the ASML is right here in San Diego. I mean, there are other divisions also. I mean, there are two parts in this scanner equipment. The scanner itself is made in Netherlands, but the source, the light source, is actually the technology is in the United States. And I think there are some treaties agreed to whereby this will stay in the United States. So there are some things that the US can do still to influence the basic thing that is required in making a fab, the scanner plus the light source. I've talked about this many times before, so you get the idea. So first thing is reshoring and nearshoring. Second thing is clean energy manufacturing. You know, United States has a new act called the Inflation Reduction Act, and you can use the tax credits from that to boost domestic production of things like solar cells, batteries, and so on and so forth. They'll have to achieve the levels of economy, scales of economy, so that the manufacturing can be profitable in the United States. I think I've told this thing in the past also. Solar technology today, solar cells, for the most part, are only giving you 15% efficiency. That means 100 joules of energy of solar power only gives you 15 joules of energy in terms of solar. And then when you have it over a period of time, then you get it watts. So you get the idea. So the efficiency is only 15%. There's a lot of work that can be done. And there was some work that was done in Caltech as well as in Stanford. Somehow that ball got dropped, and I don't know why. Maybe the funding ran out. I've tried reaching out to some of those founders. I've not heard back from them, unfortunately. Who knows what they are up now. And if somebody is actually watching it in Caltech or in Stanford labs, please do get in touch with me. I'd be curious to know where the new solar technology is being directed. Third, R&D and workforce, funding basic research and creating regional tech hubs to develop a specialized workforce. There is one interesting initiative that is being considered, which is that every person who gets into the STEM program will be assured a job that's going to be at least $100,000 a year, and there are some requirements that they work in a particular sector for 2 to 3 years, and then they will have this thing, and then after that they are free to go and do whatever they want. Hopefully these are the entrepreneurs of the future that the US hopes to produce or generate, and to get people interested in the STEM program. I don't know how successful it will be, but definitely $100,000 a year job is really, really good, and hopefully people will jump at it. I haven't seen the official form of it yet. I think it is still taking shape. As soon as it becomes reality, I'll let you know, guys. The second pillar is protective investment screening. The money that is coming into the United States as investment, those things are now being scrutinized a lot because they don't want foreign money coming in and scooping out all the technology from an American company and taking it back with them. A simple example is that of Motorola, because Motorola had all the stuff you can expect in wireless technology. They had the cell towers, they had the back down, the equipment, they had some fantastic models. The flip phone, to me, was a precursor to all these smartphones and all that stuff, just be incredibly popular. And suddenly, Motorola lost all the ground. And then it turns out that it was bought by a bunch of foreign acquirers. Go back and look at the history of Motorola, and today it's a pale shadow of itself. Very, very sad. So now what is happening is the United States is trying to monitor the inbound investment by using what is called as CFIUS. And give me a second, I'll tell you what CFIUS means. It means the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. So this is the new committee, and what does it do? It reviews foreign investments in American businesses for national security risks. Recent efforts focus on expanding its scope. So first thing they do is they are going to only give non-controlling stakes. That means probably 10%, 20% only per investor from outside of United States. Second, in critical sectors, United States is itself going to take a stake and make sure that there is closer scrutiny on where the money gets spent. So these are all some of the things that are happening, and this is first step, inbound screening, CFIUS. Then there is also outbound screening. A new executive order has been in place, and that one makes sure that the US investment flowing abroad has some guardrails around it. This affects especially venture capital firms and private equity firms. I've been telling you about this. Strip mining is one concept that I was telling you about, and you have things like funds are flowing to countries of concern. What are the countries of concern? The first one I would put there is China, perhaps North Korea, perhaps Russia, perhaps some other countries which are also harboring hopes of trying to make a leapfrog of technology. So all these things are being looked at very closely, especially the sectors of the future: artificial intelligence, quantum computing, semiconductors. So US is now beginning to change its strategy. Then what are the other things it's planning on doing? It is planning on doing trade and financial market reforms. So this is the other important thing: how to level the global playing field by adjusting the rules of engagement and addressing the financial incentives that have encouraged offshoring. What are the things that are affected by this? First of all, let me just give you the donut chart here. Trade policy is 1/3, 33%, and tax pension reform is another 33.3%. Enforcement and transparency is 33.3%. And we'll take a look at what each of these steps mean. First of all, trade policy tools: maintaining targeted tariffs, reviewing China's PNTR status to gain leverage against unfair practices. Now you might want to ask me, what does PNTR mean? Well, this is something that has been with China. It's called permanent normal trade relations status. This is something that China enjoys, and they may end up repealing this. And what does that mean? That would mean that annual reviews of the trade practices of China would be back in the front burner. Basically, what it means is that US was turning a blind eye to China's trade practices. Remember, I've been telling you about routine exploitation violations of the WTO norms by China despite being a WTO member, which is why they produce the hell out of EVs or steel or just about anything that you can think of, because they want to flood the market and keep everybody else out. And WTO has restrictions on how much you can produce, how much the market can bear. It's too big a subject for me to go in here, but you get the idea. Next, second thing is tax and pension reform. This is something that's now become a pet peeve of mine. I was telling you about strip mining. Tax and pension reform, removing tax benefits for investing in adversarial companies, and reviewing pension fund using the ERISA rules. I'll tell you what that means to protect US capitals. So you might want to know, what is ERISA? Well, reviewing rules for pension funds like the 401k funds under the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, and this ensures that retirement assets are not channeled into foreign adversarial companies. This seeks to eliminate a major source of US capital flowing into questionable foreign enterprises. I think you get the idea where I'm headed, right? I mean, that's why I've been putting all these programs about strip mining and also the financial status of various countries, UK, France, and Germany, and now United States. You'll have the strip mining on United States episode also. If it has not already aired, it will air soon. So these are all things that are being done to make sure that the pension funds are directed at things that don't come back to bite the United States in the butt. Next, enforcement and transparency. Improving export control capabilities and requiring more detailed public reporting on US direct investment in China. And this is called the BIS. What is BIS? I'll tell you in a second. It is the Bureau of Industry and Security. This is a department that is in the United States. I think it's in the Commerce Department, and it makes sure that there are export controls and that key secure technologies of United States don't fall into the wrong hands. Again, like I said, for more details, you can look at the story that is appeared in PGurus. So this now is a strategic shift as far as the United States is concerned. It's moving away from purely reactive trade defense towards a proactive strategy that builds domestic capabilities while selectively decoupling and protecting its financial and technological assets from adversarial influence. So there you have it. It's a pretty long road for the United States, but a beginning has been made, which is why I keep telling you folks that at least 12 years of Republican governance is needed for the United States to dig itself out of this mess. I don't think the Democrats get it. They are in a la-la land of their own. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that I like what the Republicans are doing. MAGA, for example, is threatening to go off the rails. They need to rein themselves back in. Be that as it may, as a country, I feel that some of these policies, they need to be implemented in spirit and letter, and let's wait and see how things go, and I'll be happy to report to you on the progress. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Do share this video with like-minded people, because not many people are taking a look at how United States hopes to build its strength back. Thanks once again. Namaskar.